Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast. Oh no, we're having a boy. Well, Kylie and I aren't having a boy. Did you just get nervous when I said that? We're having a boy. But it is all too often an increasingly common refrain. There is this thing called gender disappointment, and lately there have been a number of news stories highlighting that parents increasingly are devastated, quote unquote, by having a baby boy. Today, we unpack that, why it's happening, where it's coming from, and what we might want to do about it. All that and more coming up next on the Happy Families podcast. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast, where you get real parenting solutions every single day. This is Australia's most devastating podcast. It feels like it today, Kylie. It's Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. It feels devastating. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson, by the way, and we're the parents of 6 daughters, 6 girls. And we were frequently asked, are you sad? Are you sorry? People would look at us and say, oh my goodness, I am so sorry for you. There was all of this gender disappointment that other people had for us. Today, we're talking about the new gender disappointment. Experts are explaining why more parents are devastated by having a baby boy, based on an article that appeared a couple of months ago now in the Herald Sun, the Sunday Mail in Adelaide, and a couple of other sources. This is a pretty new thing, but it is happening a lot, primarily because we get to see it on social media.
Pull it out, pull it out.
Open them. It's a boy.
No, what is wrong with you? For goodness sake, I wanted a girl.
This just deeply saddens me, like on every level. When we were pregnant 6 different times.
Yep. I love that you're holding up 10 hands to say 6 different times.
It felt like 10, I promise.
I said 10 hands, 10 fingers. You've got 10 fingers up, because by the time you get to the 6th one, it's like, are we really doing this again?
But each time we were asked if we were going to find out and if we were trying for a boy. And the thought never occurred to me that we would try for one or the other. We were just excited to have a healthy baby.
Yeah, the discussion was always, do we want to have a baby? Yes, no. Do we care what it is? No. If we care what it is, then we need to rethink why we're doing this. I remember you telling me a story once in the hospital where a woman had just given birth to her 2nd daughter. You were in there giving birth to one of our children. I don't remember which one it is. And the husband was most unhappy. I don't know if you recall this or not. And he actually said to his wife, we're going to keep doing this until you get this right.
So I vaguely remember that conversation. I have no idea which one it was.
It stuck with me forever. I was astonished that a man would say that to his wife. It blew my mind. My boys' book's about how men need to help the people in their lives feel safer and stronger. And it's the antithesis.
It seems like such an archaic thought process.
Staggering. And yet trends are changing. People are now saying, we'd much rather have girls than boys.
Well, if you're scared of having boys, you are welcome to come and live in my house for a week. And I promise you that you might see the world very differently.
The boys are suddenly looking a lot more stable and manageable than,
holy smokes,
than the emotion-laden everything that we deal with on a daily basis. It's so much. Let me share a couple of quotes from this article. It really interested me. So it was by Rebecca Whitfield Baker, and it was published, like I said, in News Corp papers back in Feb. What she basically says, she quotes from the Australian Association of Psychologists Director Rachel Sampson, who specialises in child and family wellbeing, saying it's girls who are on the wish list of parents to be, and learning they're having a boy can cause, and I quote, very high distress.
3, 2, 1. No, you're kidding me.
Here's another quote from Rachel Sampson. In our psychology clinics, more expectant parents are telling us they fear raising a boy, with some of them reporting high levels of distress. She added that parent mental health and postnatal depression organisations are now offering information on the issue. Here's the quote. Certainly those who are working in the perinatal space or a similar specialty or do a lot of work with parents are saying the same thing. Gender disappointment is now talked about a lot. We most often hear that it's disappointment around having a boy. It goes beyond gender disappointment to devastation. People have gone from being absolutely thrilled to being pregnant to then finding out the sex of the fetus and no longer being happy to be pregnant.
This feels really big, and I don't want to come across glib or dismissive, because for anybody who feels like that, I can't even stand in their shoes. I can't imagine what it feels like. But I guess as I listen to what you're sharing, a few things stand out to me. My number one devastation in all of this is that there is so much noise in society that parents have forgotten the power of their influence in their children's lives. We talk about cultural norms and we talk about the climate within our society or a culture in general, but the one culture that will have the biggest determining factor on how your child chooses to live their life will happen within the four walls of your own home.
Yeah, family culture of the family, absolutely, yeah.
And the village you choose to build around them. And somehow as a parent, we have to drown out the noise.
Yeah.
We have to drown out the voices that are screaming for our attention and filling our hearts and our minds with fear. Because it actually requires us as parents to stand up, be strong, stand tall, and stand with courage as we move through the parenting journey with our children. Hold their hands as we scaffold them, teach them appropriate and valuable values and principles that will guide them throughout their lives and help other people be stronger. But while ever we're listening to this narrative that is so destructive, we actually help create it. I know that there's a lot going on in the media and there are so many stories about the negative impact of male behaviour in general, but what is driving this? What is leaving a mum who is excited to have a baby only to find out that she's going to have a boy and now she's devastated? I don't know. That just breaks my heart.
Yeah, I'm watching you. I'm listening to you try to articulate thoughts, and it's really clear that this is quite impactful for you. After the break, let's talk about where it's coming from, why parents are feeling that way, and perhaps most importantly, what we can do about it. We're back. This is the Happy Families podcast. Gender disappointment, gender reveals leading to misery rather than delight and joy. Kylie, you asked the question why. There's a couple of things that parents have identified in some research that's been done. A lot of people have this idea that boys are going to be more hyperactive, they're going to be more aggressive, they're not going to be emotional. As a father of 6 daughters, I think that having a less emotional house wouldn't be a problem, just for what it's worth. Like, I'm not, but people think that they're going to have a more emotionally close relationship with a daughter. I would question that. I would definitely question that. And they don't think that a boy will care for them when they're older.
It's so funny because my stereotype that I've grown up with is the loving big brother idea, who dotes on his parents and will do anything for them.
The research certainly doesn't support that. Overall, females are much more likely to care for, look after, be involved in the lives of their aging parents than males. Males do seem to move away a lot more and be less involved. So if you're in a situation where that's not the case, that's not what the research typically points to. Parents are also worried about, mums specifically, what do I do with the boy? How do I connect with the boy? That seems to be a really common issue. And they're also fearful of raising a boy because of the issues around aggression and family violence and criminal behaviour, incarceration. I think as well, I found this comment, this quote from somebody who said a lot of women are concerned because they want their boys, if they have them, to be able to express a full range of emotions, and they worry that it might not be equally supported by partners who hold more traditional views about boys needing to be tough.
Again, all I hear as you're talking is living into the fear of what could or may happen without giving our children our full support to help them grow into healthy human beings who can make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's going to happen in 20 years when they find their perfect match or when they choose to be a parent. Like
when they start to make a contribution to the world, once they go from being a taker to a giver, which is what every child has to do at some point. But
we don't have any control over that. What we have control over is what happens in our home right now.
So I'm going to just say a couple of things, and this is what I've been thinking about for the last 4 years. Writing off half the population because of their external anatomy, because of the fact they've got outdoor plumbing.
It was a perfect way to extinct a whole whole species.
Yeah, that's right. Boys aren't the problem; they're the solution. And whenever we look at boys as the problem, that's when we become the problem. Boys are not the problem; they are the solution. What we are trying to do here is stop people being scared of boys. And you know how you do that? You do that by doing the stuff that I've written about in my brand new book, Boys. You teach boys to help the people around them to feel safer and stronger, to feel and be safer and stronger. When boys grow up knowing that they should be chair stackers, that they should be a bonus, that they should be adding value, when we as parents teach them that, they will be okay. People are watching stuff like Louis Theroux's Inside the Manosphere and just thinking, oh my goodness, all of our boys are going to turn into these turds that they're exploiting, that are grifting, that are saying these awful things online. I've said it in my book, and it's a really provocative claim. I don't think that the manosphere is nearly as influential, not nearly as influential as the scaremongers and the media make it out to be. It makes for great headlines. But Kylie, I gave a talk a little over a month ago at a school in Melbourne. It was called Gilson College. And what I didn't know is that the week before I gave the talk, the Year 10 boys had been on camp, and there was a small group of these boys that were problematic, to say the least. They'd left a teacher in tears. They'd upset the general public. There'd been complaints to the school. The school was trying to work out what to do with them. I'm at the school the next week, and I'm giving this talk called Level Up. And I'm talking to them about some stuff, and masculinity came up as part of the content. And at the end of the talk, about 10 or 15 boys came and crowded around me. And they started to ask questions about the masculinity stuff I'd been talking about. What I didn't know is that the boys who'd caused the problems at the camp were in that semicircle around me asking questions. The head of wellbeing, the whole lot of staff there listening and watching, they knew who these boys were. And they were like, what are they going to say to Justin? Why are they asking him questions? They're listening. One of the boys, I'd been talking about girlfriend-boyfriend interactions, and one of the boys said, how do you know when you found the right girl? And all the boys were like, yeah, tell us. How do you know? How do you know? And that led to this conversation about how you're supposed to treat girls and what you should do on a date. And we just had this 15 or 20-minute conversation at the end of my talk. It turned into this really long conversation about helping girls feel safer and stronger. They brought it up. How do you know that you're helping them to feel safe and strong? How do you know when you're not? And we got to really dive into some really fun discussion points. At the end, 4 or 5 boys were still there wanting more info, and I had to go and give another talk somewhere else, so I was asked to leave and the boys were told to toddle off. But as I walked away, the teacher who was running the show just said, here's the story, here's who these boys are, here's what's been happening. And she was just like, I cannot believe what just happened. These boys are thirsty for good role models. They're thirsty for definitions and descriptions of what healthy masculinity looks like. They are not interested. They don't want to adopt the lexicon of the manosphere, the troublesome parts of the manosphere. They want goodness. They want good relationships. They want to be perceived socially and economically as viable and potential mates. They want to have rich, fulfilling lives. And we keep on writing boys off.
I was about to say, while ever we see boys as the problem, they will never rise above that. And they will live to your expectations.
And we are the problem if that's how we're seeing them, because they're not. And I sat there and listened to what these boys were asking and looked at their involvement and the ongoing questions, the things that really engaged and intrigued them about what I was saying. Kylie, I thought to myself, before I knew what they'd been up to the week before, I was like, these kids are going to make it. These boys are going to be fine. These are good boys, because the sincerity, the goodness inside them, it was oozing out of them as they asked these earnest, meaningful, rich questions about how they could be better boys. I loved it. And I hear these stories and I'm like, can we just get over this gender disappointment and love these kids? If we love them, they're going to do okay.
But how much of this do you think actually comes as a result of so much emphasis on the differences in gender? You talk about cultural differences, and we find ourselves in these communities and we kind of gather to our own kind of cultures within a community group because we associate with the people we're most like, right?
Yep.
But And so I'm not minimizing the differences that we hold in our own respective genders. However, what I do see is we talk about boys needing to kind of show up and add more and give add bonus, help people feel safe. But that's not a gender thing.
No, that's a human thing.
That's a human thing. And the values
reason
that we want to instill in our boys are just the same values that we should be instilling in our girls. And so why are we separating them?
There are a couple of things.
This is about being a good human being.
Yes, correct. However, biology does tend to push boys specifically away from what biology seems to draw girls into, which is safer and stronger. And whether that's because of the socio-cultural conditioning across millennia, or whether it's because of genetics, or a combination of the two, it probably is both of them. And I've written about this really explicitly in the book. When you have this scenario where boys are drawn to warfare and wrestling and making themselves big and having the antelope's antlers, and then you add to it the cultural conditioning that boys are meant to be all these things, what that does is it pulls boys in a direction that is not as pro-social, whereas girls, through both genetics and conditioning, are taught to be extremely pro-social.
But I think so much of girls' pro-social behaviour is people-pleasing.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, that's right. I'm not arguing that that's healthy either, but we're talking about the boys today specifically. The other thing that I would say, though, is when we try to bring everyone together, that's where the manosphere has really exploded, because there are too many people who are trying to turn boys into male versions of girls. And they're trying to soften them and get them to be all emotional, in touch with their emotions, and really, really coddled and gentle and kind. And boys actually really want to use their bodies. They want to be strong. They want to be able to flex and have their biceps pop so that they can either be intimidating or prove that they can protect. And so we're seeing the various voices on the periphery of the manosphere, the unhealthy people there, arguing you need to reclaim your status as a strong man, as a protector and a provider. And so we get this pull back towards that, but in unhealthy ways. It's often associated with a whole lot of scamming and grifting and OnlyFans and that kind of thing. The whole argument that I'm making in the book Boys, which you can pre-order now at booktopia.com, and I'd love for you to do it. We'll link to it in the show notes. The whole argument that I'm making is that, number one, we shouldn't be disappointed with having a boy or a girl. Like, let's just celebrate the joy. So many people can't have children. Let's celebrate the joy that we're having a baby. Number two, when we raise them in an environment that is supportive and loving and teach them to help the people around them feel safer and stronger, they're going to be just fine. I wanted to raise this story today because I keep hearing it. I've spoken to so many parents who say, oh yeah, I'm a boy mum, and they actually kind of cover their eyes. They hang their head. They don't want to own up to it. And I want boy mums to stand up and be really strong about it and say, yeah, I'm raising great boys. I'm so proud of my boys.
I need them to raise great boys.
Yeah, because we've got daughters that are looking for great boys. Honestly, yeah. Anyway, that's the story today. We'd love to get your feedback on it. You can jump onto our social pages and tell us what you think about this gender disappointment challenge. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides our additional resources and admin support. If you'd like to know more about the Boys book, just Google it or go to booktopia.com.au and pre-order Boys now. It comes out on June 16. Boys, Building Strong Young Men from the Inside Out. It's available for pre-order now.